It's Tuesday, the 19th of November, 2019. Bitcoin prices have dropped about 4% since yesterday's episode, dropping down from our descending wedge triangle where I was anticipating we were going to be springing and breaking up from. Let's jump into today's episode and find out what it is going to take to turn this around into a buy signal for this moon boy. Let's start off by digging into the relative strength index on the weekly view. I've been watching for the uptrend in the relative strength index, and it's very clear that when this trend line broke, it was a definite sell signal. And then we were watching for the trend line to break again, and sure enough, we did have a trend line break right at that very important point. Now I want to pay attention to what did the RSI do in the past, especially as it's coming down to these important levels. All the way along here, this is a key level that if we're breaking down below this, we're into a longer bearish stance than I want to. When we move into the daily time frame, as I was preparing for the video, I was really looking back and forth to see, okay, this uptrend line here was really important, and this downtrend line here now is becoming very important. Every time the downtrend line is broken, somewhere, this is very important. So then I'm looking back to see where in time did we bounce off an RSI level that was similar to that, and I need to go into the log view of the chart so that I can actually see where this lines up to our potentials for taking off. So each time the RSI has come back down to these levels, as I was observing, it came down, it consolidated, and then it bounced up. Came down, consolidated, came down, consolidated. Each of these were after a downtrending RSI phase in our uptrend. And it's really important to look back to these time frames back here, because according to the Bollinger Bands weekly, we're still in the downtrend itself. We're still back in this phase of the market. We really haven't made it up into this phase of the market according to the weekly Bollinger Bands. And so I was very much more interested in what's going on with the price as RSI comes back to these levels from historical time frames. And certainly it's easy to see that the RSI can come back considerably from where it is here. We can have quite a bit more downtrend from this spot with the RSI. It can come back quite a bit more. And many times it does come back further before we bounce up. Even in the uptrend, it came back extreme, then consolidated and broke this trend line. So we still have a lot more downside potential according to this RSI on the daily time frame. Let's move into the 12-hour time frame, because this is where we wanted to see yesterday that it held this trend line the last few days and that it would bounce off of this level. But every time as it's breaking the trend line, we're rationalizing that maybe this is it as it's holding a new trend line. But the fact is we have to wait for it to break this trend line now before we're looking for anything bullish out of this. It's crossed our exponential moving averages. It is on a downtrend, and with the daily RSI showing that we have more room to go down, the weekly RSI showing we have more room to go down, it's important to pay attention that more is potential. And yet at the same time, I want to see where did the RSI reverse on the shorter time frames. As we come down to these extremes now, these are the most important things to be studying. So now we can zoom into the closer time frames and get to the very point to see what's going on. We have prices sliding off, and the RSI is slightly diverging here on the 1 hour time frame. This isn't enough to hold as a buy signal. So as we're zooming in, this is also sliding off. So for me, this isn't enough to hold as a buy signal, because I have a combination of things that are used to get me in and to get me out of the market. To increase your odds of making money by trading Bitcoin, and to avoid some of the mistakes that I made when I first started trading, be sure to head over to the website Introtocryptos.ca and scroll all the way to the bottom. Put in your email address to get the free cryptocurrency trading webinar from the website. When you have this simple trading plan under your belt, you'll have a good understanding of the chart formations that I always demonstrate in these videos. Now, back to the video. Let me continue on with the next indicator, and we'll go on to the on-balance volume. Here in the weekly time frame, we can see that we've come to a selling point, and we need this to pick back up to positive. If we go into the daily time frame and pull this back a little bit, we can see and rationalize that On the way up before, we had these dumping. That's no problem to have the dumping turn back into positive on the way up every time. But we can also see here that as we go back, there's a lot more potential for it to be sliding down. And I'm going back to the log view and I'm paying attention to this time frame because of the Bollinger Band weekly, which you haven't seen yet. But I want to pay attention to what's going on in here, in that we have a lot more potential for this to come down. As we've been going through the daily view of the on balance volume, I've been going through very often and pointing out these divergences as the bearish turns to the bullish, the bearish turns to the bullish. And I haven't been really focusing on when the bullish turned to the bearish. So here we have the bullish turning to the bearish, but we also have the bearish turning to the bullish coming in through here. Bearish turning to bullish, bullish turning to bearish, bullish turning to bearish. So there's no way to know which way it's going to go from here. There's a lot of potential either way, but for my own part, I can't really look at going long on this until we get these exponential moving averages starting to cross to the positive and things catch and turn around a little bit and give me a 1, 2, 3 formation that I can sink my teeth into. There's lots of places for it to catch support here. We'll see what happens. Let's zoom in, and we're still seeing selling, selling, selling going on here. Go into the 1 hour time frame just to see that this was stronger selling. In the last few days I've been pointing out selling, less selling, less selling. This looked kind of bullish as we were coming to this point, but the point failed down to the downside with some selling. It's eased off, so it's not giving me a 1, 2, 3 formation that I can sink my teeth into here, like we had a potential 1, 2, 3 setting up here. That was a potential turnaround point, but not for this one. It's still got sliding off to do and a whole bottom formation to set up here for me. If we zoom into the closer time frame, this may be a bull flag. It could jump up from here. We have a little bit of volume. It could, but it's not the kind of formation that I'm used to trading, so it'll have to mature a little bit from here now. I'm keen to see how it unfolds over the next few days. Let's go in now to the MACD indicator. Now MACD has been a bear's friend right from the beginning here, and the bulls were in denial. I admit I was in denial for sure. On this, I'm looking for the uptrend. I'm looking for the uptrend all the way along there, and it was clear. In the weekly view, it was a downtrend. When we go to the daily view, here's another clear signal. Clear signals of bearish stances coming on with these top formations. Clear signals here as it crossed. So again, as the daily crossed here, this is not a mistake. There's 1, 2, 3 formation. Get used to these and paying attention to which way they are going rather than our own personal bias. 12-hour time frame, it crossed to the negative here, much like the daily. And so it's not a mystery. It is there in front of us. It's just a matter of following along with the patterns rather than your own views. Because our own views are based on so many other combination of things. This is much more simple. When we go into the 4-hour time frame, this was giving me the potential, it's going to go. But then as it crossed negative and we're crossing past these and we're breaking out of this triangle, those are all confirmations of bear. No matter if I am thinking bull, when I see this, okay, I'm wrong. If you fall out of a yoga pose, you don't get stressed, you just go back. So as soon as this is crossing to the negative and this is failing my own analysis here, I pay attention to it. It becomes a 1, 2, 3 top formation. This is breaking a trend line. The MACD is crossing over. All of those things put together, and I pay attention. This is why you can never take trading advice from a video online. First of all, they're out of date. Second of all, you have to have this stuff so that you are ready with it, not to follow along with what somebody else says. You can take their guidance, but then it has to become your own. You have to do this work. You have to be there. You have to be watching. You have to swing the bat. Let's go into the 15-minute time frame, crossing to the negative again here. So just as it feels to me like we're going to be dropping down right off of this. Now let's go into the next indicator and take a look at the Ichimoku cloud. So Ichimoku, you've been bearish all the way along, just like our MACD crosses. So the blue and the red line here in the Ichimoku cloud crossed before things started to come down in this last trend here. And I was seeing it cross and still thinking bullish. Now, I was definitely using this chart as a sign that we are going to be going bullish, and it was too soon. So if I take the prices out of here, and the reason I was looking at it is that the blue line had crossed below the red, that's negative, and we're below the cloud here, that's negative. Things went down. This time, until the blue line crossed, the blue line hadn't crossed below the red until later in this trend. And then we saw a few days ago this crossed to the negative before the price broke lower. And then now the price is broken lower. So we had a couple days notice from the Ichimoku cloud of these twists to the negative in each episode. And that's the kind of stuff I do these daily episodes for. That's the kind of juice that you can only get by going over it daily. Or listening to somebody who's done it and then, following the patterns and putting that together. You don't have to do all this same amount of work. You really can benefit from the work that I've done. So here again, those same two places now on the 4 hour, no, this is the 12 hour. So they had the cross negative sooner here out of this 1, 2, 3 top formation, sooner than the daily did as we were coming through this cloud. I was still watching for this to be the buy signal in the uptrend for the Ichimoku cloud, entirely because of this massive candle. I thought that was a huge turnaround in the market. And it still may be. We could really come back from these levels and blast up. There's no way to know. We'll just continue to watch these indicators. But I'm telling you now, the 12-hour Ichimoku cloud is not saying that we are in a turnaround and that we're about to go back up from here. Not at all. If we go into the 4-hour time frame, it is also still strongly bearish, twist to the negative, down trend, not just down movement. That's what this is looking at. And we go into the 1-hour time frame, also still solidly, just like yesterday, as I said in the episode, that it is solidly bearish. It is decidedly below all of the cloud settings here. If I go into the 1-hour time frame, are we getting anything? No. This broke solidly yesterday, and it was a bit of a bull crutch here yesterday. We had this double bottom. It was coming up. We had this little bit of a bull wick, and as soon as it wicked and pulled back and broke this top formation, the 1-hour MACD crossed negative, the 1-hour and the 4-hour, the MACDs crossed negative. As soon as the 1-hour Ichimoku cloud crossed negative and the MACD 1 and 4-hour crossed negative, these are really strong indicators that this 1, 2, 3 formation is broken and it's going down. That is why I love these daily videos, to pull this information together. My subconscious needs it, and if it helps you, awesome. I want to hear it in the comments down below. Now, the 15-minute time frame yesterday's episode was giving us a potential for it to break out, and then after the episode, things came down. So be sure to come by our Discord chat and join us there, because we do talk about this through the day. After the episode is finished, we're continuing the conversation about these formations. So as these are breaking, we're posting screenshots, we're noticing these crosses, and we're sharing it in our chat. So come and join us. Now, the Bollinger Band, this is the one that if I go and circle this, we're still decidedly into a bear stance. We are in a bear stance here all the way along until this crossed above the weekly. And if I pull this back and to see where this happened before, well, it took a while before we got above there, and we came down below, outside of this weekly band, bounced back up to the midline of the band, and then hammered again up to the midline and back down. Finally, we had to make a couple appearances above it before we were actually in that uptrend. And right now, we are not in that uptrend. In fact, we're coming down to be hitting against this, and I'm seeing that both of these parallel channels are easing off, meaning downtrend, not just a quick down movement and a blast up. So when I move into the daily Bollinger Bands, I got to say, I'm less of a Bollinger Band. I don't have that much skill at Bollinger Band. This is new to me. I'm doing these daily studies in all these time frames so that I can be wiring this pattern into my mind and start to recognize it, because I really don't know when the buy signals are very clearly yet. There's a couple instances that they stand out to me when this 1 day and the 12 hour and the 4 hour are all hitting the band at the same time, and it makes a little 1, 2, 3 bottom formation. Right in this time frame, I know that all of our indicators were giving us great positive crosses at that time. And right now they are not. And so I expect that since we are not getting positive crosses, as this is sliding down and not bouncing off, like we got a lot of positive crosses here in the rest of our indicators, and we are not getting them yet. So I'm expecting further down yet. The 4 hour time frame still at the very edge of the band and coming down. I don't know, but it's widening, which means we may get more sideways here. So finally, this is the first time that it's getting away from the band, but it's still in this channel. I don't know. It won't mean anything until it gets up above the midline at least of the 1 hour time frame and holds itself above there in a 1, 2, 3 formation that we need to have set up here now. And just zooming right in now to see what's going on, and zoom in again just for the trend line of it, just to watch. It could be a double bottom here, but it really has to build a lot of juice inside this to give me a little 1, 2, 3 formation before I can start to put my toe onto it. For now, everything's all downtrend, and I'm waiting for those 1, 2, 3s to set up. So what does this mean for Bitcoin dominance and for the rest of the alts, with Bitcoin dropping off like this and dropping lower as we're talking? Bitcoin dominance has been going sideways, and even though Bitcoin has been dropping off, Bitcoin dominance has been holding sideways, which means the alts are dropping just as much as Bitcoin is right now when we're comparing it against US dollar. So alts are going down against US dollar, Bitcoin is going down against US dollar, and they're staying pretty much even battle with each other right now. And we can quickly see here that from our pro crypto alerts, we're still holding some very good profits in many of our alerts. I'll be going through and checking all the stop losses on these to see how things are going. But a really good measure is what's going on in our bull market watch. The hold status coins will hold on a little bit longer in their changes before the exponential moving averages cross over and kick us out. It depends where the stop losses are on these. And if they are high in profit, then the stop loss is back further, so they may stay into a hold status longer because of where their positions are. But we can see that the alert status in Binance has dropped back significantly from yesterday, from 49 down to 21 coins. And this is what I was expecting yesterday's episode, is that if Bitcoin dominance is going to rise, we will see it first in the alerts pulling back into neutral stance. We'll see that we have exit coins coming in. And then after that, we're going to see the holds pulling back into exit status and then into neutral stance. And it'll be a while before our alerts pick back up again and start back up into an uptrend. They'll all be pulling back if Bitcoin dominance is rising. And so the power of this spreadsheet is to show you exactly which of the coins are in hold status, which are in alert, which are the coins that just dropped back to exit status. They crossed over the 4 hour exponential moving average or the 12 hour exponential moving average. These are our main exit points, and it's important to know when to get in and when to get out of these. So these are saying to move at least out of altcoins and back into Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is going down and altcoins are topping out, stablecoin is the only place to be right now. And it's very rare that stablecoin is the place to be. That is when Bitcoin prices are dropping and Bitcoin dominance is rising. That's the time to put your money into stablecoin and stand back and wait for the next change. And so in summary, after we've broken this descending wedge triangle, many of the indicators have given up on the potential turnaround, and they are looking bearish from here. So we'll continue watching day by day to see if we are going to get support and resistance along these ranges. But as this top formation is maturing now, this is looking like a stronger continuation of a bear trend and not just a dip down from this position here. The on-balance volume does give us a potential for a bullish divergence here, but it's also got the bearish divergence setting up as well. And with the rest of the indicators looking bearish and our exponential moving averages crossing bearish, this does look like a larger established top formation, and we really could come down to the $5,800 level. Here again, in summary, the MACD indicator was giving us a bearish view quite some time ago, and we won't see any turnaround into the positive yet until this makes a little 1, 2, 3 bottom formation and we start to see the MACD cross back to the positive, at least on the 4-hour time frame. Ichimoku cloud has been bearish all the way through. It's bearish on the 4-hour, the 12-hour, all the way through, and as this comes down and potentially hits a bottom formation here and sets itself up, but for now it also looks like it confirms that we are in a downtrend and not just a down spike that is going to be bouncing strongly back up. And finally, a reflection on the weekly Bollinger Bands, definitely telling us that we are in a downtrend. As we zoom in on these other time frames, it's still pushing against the side of the band, indicating there could be more down pressure in this market, and our other indicators are not coming up to give us a positive divergence, which may say that we are in a good place for a mean reversion trade. Instead, it seems that we are in a downtrend and not in a bouncing point anymore, now that we've broken through this level. And that wraps it up for today's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin. I appreciate your audience. Thanks again, and I'll see you on tomorrow's episode of the 24 Hours of Bitcoin.